more than silver is doing what it is made to do. It is an inflation hedge and a hedge against uncertainty, right? We have Russia moving into Ukraine, attacking Ukraine, gold's up, right? That's the insurance that we've been warning people about forever. The problem is gold and silver have not moved. They're like the ones that are always last to the party. Why? Because people don't care about them. People, that's not sexy. It's not exciting. There's no yield to be made. However, that is changing.
Welcome to Inside the Markets, the flagship podcast of StockPulse.com. So I've got with me now the economic ninja. Really pleased to have him. And I want to thank him before I get started here on really giving quite the effort at our symposium. Without you, brother, I don't know if we would have pulled that off. You made that happen for us. So you're an interesting guy. You're in all kinds of sides of the economy here. You've been around for 20 years. You've seen a few things. You got a channel that's exploding here. I think the number one financial channel here. So I know this isn't about you, but boy, you have some insight. So I want to really kind of tap into your brain here. And we hadn't really talked officially since the symposium. So yeah, I mean, what a day to get into this. Russia invades Ukraine. I don't really want to make that the story here. We had our own financial troubles, but I guess from the economic ninja's perspective, or let's take the 36,000 foot view of maybe the health of the country, get into maybe the dollar and the metals where your specialty is. Thanks for joining me.
Cool. Yeah. Hey, no problem. So first off, let me start. I'm not the number one channel in finance. I want to be there. I think I need about 1 million subscribers to get to that point, but I'm getting close. So I'm up there. I'm in the top 10, I think, on views. And that's because of so many amazing people. There's so many people looking for answers right now. They just don't know where to find them. And I'm not a doom and gloom guy. I'm like, hey, the facts are doom and gloom. We are really going through a market crisis, which we go through every 7 to 10 years. And we're going through a major cycle every 50 to 100 years. We're going through that right now. But the good news is if you're prepared for it, not scared of it, you can literally, on the back end of this collapse, pick up so many assets dirt cheap and sort of literally live like the elite do. So that's what I'm trying to get people to think. So yeah, again, moving into the dollar and what's going on there, I think it's very interesting because, we've heard economists in the past talk about how when these kind of times come, the dollar's going to get super strong. The Dixie's going to 150, and we're not seeing that right now. What we're seeing is actually totally the opposite. We're seeing governments and central banks moving into gold, silver, really gold, Bitcoin, things like that, real assets. There are companies that are buying up real estate hand over fist, and they're not exactly moving into the dollar. Why? I'm seeing countries like Russia and China doing agreements with countries all over the world outside of the dollar. And that means there's less demand for dollars. So I think it's really interesting, 5 years ago, where people were saying, hold on to cash is king. Now we have people like Ray Dalio saying cash is trash. So I think it's a very interesting turn of events that we have not seen literally in the last 50 years.
Yeah, so let's get into inflation here. Obviously a big topic on everyone's mind. I bring up John Williams' name all the time with ShadowStats. He adds 10 digits on to what we already know is the highest inflation ever. So I know where you're going to go with this. So you got to get yourself some hard assets, things like that. But yeah, talk about inflation. It's got to be here to stay, at least for a while. It can't be transitory now. So what are your thoughts there and how to combat it?
Yeah, so the term here to stay is very interesting because everybody has that normalcy bias. We suffer from it in so many different aspects of our life. We expect things to be tomorrow like they are today and yesterday. And we don't understand that change can happen. And even though it actually happens slowly over the course of a few months, maybe a year, it seems like in retrospect, it happens overnight. And that's what it blows my mind. They can't usually feel change or sense change or see change. But what happens is change affects them almost overnight. But it wasn't like that. And yes, John Williams does amazing work. And yes, inflation is in the double digits. And I believe it is going to go well past the 1980-81 numbers. And I've been calling for mortgage rates in the 20% for literally 4 years. And people would just drop jaw, think that's impossible, you're nuts. And I'm saying, no, you don't understand history. And we're setting up for this money printing scheme that started before quantitative easing came out in 2009, 2008. People need to realize that money printer had fired up in the early 2000s when the first real estate boom was happening. And what's going to happen because of that when all those, not only the dollars that were created in this country and have stayed in this country, come home to roost, but all of these countries like China, Russia, India, Saudi Arabia now that are doing deals outside of the dollar. Well, they've been accumulating dollars for decades, and they're going to eventually bring them back to America. Now, the scary thing is that America is one of the only countries that allows outside countries and investors to just buy up all their real estate, buy up their assets. And that is very scary to me, because that means they don't care how much it costs. They're looking at this as toilet paper right now. Let's throw it away. And for decades and decades, America has become very prideful in the fact that they're the dollar world reserve currency. They are the top, they are number one. And the problem is pride always comes before a fall. And that is what I'm concerned with. And so I believe that we are going to see the downturn in our economy after Europe's. Okay, I'm sort of going off on a different tangent, but Europe and America are so tied together. And what we're watching right now with the war building up and their problems, the ECB raising their interest rates, they're going to be more aggressive, I believe, next month. We need to start watching this tide turn right now. The crisis actually already happened. Now the evidence of that crisis that already happened is about to hit everybody in the face.
Yeah, well, you brought it up, so let's talk about what that looks like and what to do about it. Yeah, you're into negative interest rates. You literally won't be able to make it unless you can make more money, I guess. So what's Ninja? Is this he's got to be offensive now?
So I believe that this is going to be crazy. So the reality is, I'm sure John Williams would agree with me, the only way the Fed is going to be able to get themselves out of this situation with the inflation narrative, that it's not a narrative, it's really happening, but it's now a narrative, even though it was happening back in the fall. I said inflation was going to pick up around June. I said by the fall. Now the narrative is inflation, right? Everyone sort of gets it. It's because it's already too late, right? Robert Kiyosaki said, by the time you hear it in the news, it's too late. For the Fed to be able to get past that and stop inflation, they've actually got to raise the Fed funds rate above the real inflation rate and allow people to go, okay, I'm going to stop buying dog food, groceries, or extra groceries, anything I can to save myself from inflation. And it would actually make me more money to keep my money in the bank, right? When banks offer a higher interest rate, it helps savers. The problem is the Fed's not going to do that. They don't want to do that, because then they would be blamed for the crash, because that will completely decimate real estate. It will decimate a lot of industries. So I believe if we see a downturn in the stock market anytime soon, I believe the Fed knows, and they want the public outcry to beg them to lower rates, to beg them. Well, they're already at zero. I do believe they're going to raise rates in the next 4 months. I believe they're going to try their hardest to get up to 1%. I do not believe the economy can handle that. And then they're going to not only go back to zero, I believe they're going to go into negative rates, which will not help the general public, other than banks will bring their rates down to where they were a year ago, if that makes sense. It will extremely help the banks and the hedge funds be able to, literally not only get money at zero rates, but actually get paid to borrow money and speculate in the market. So it'll boost the stock market, it'll boost real estate, things like that. That's a very scary spot to be in, quite frankly. And if that happens, if we go into negative rates, that's the time when you want to buy real estate and do things. But right now we have the opposite. So we're in this like holding pattern, if that makes sense, waiting to see what the Fed does.
Yeah, well, you got a big wall of silver behind you there. So I'm assuming you're a fan. Obviously,
huge
you
fan.
Are. Yeah, huge fan. I know you are. And yeah, so let's talk about a way to combat what you just talked about here. Metals, obviously, several ways to play them. Store of value. Talk about, I guess, I know you're not a financial advisor, but maybe give us a little outlook for the metals as you see the conditions you just laid out.
Well, to talk about metals, first, I got to talk about crypto. And the reason why is because there's been a narrative that's been floated out there for about a year and a half, 2 years, that Bitcoin and crypto is an inflation hedge because of its finite amount. The facts are right now, Bitcoin, or at least last night, I think probably today, is down as the recording of this. It was down like 7.5%, 8% when the Dow was down, let's say 2.5%, and gold and silver were up. Now, gold more than silver is doing what it is made to do. It is an inflation hedge, and a hedge against uncertainty, right? We have Russia moving into Ukraine, attacking Ukraine, gold's up, right? That's the insurance that we've been warning people about forever. The problem is gold and silver have not moved. They're like the ones that are always last to the party. Why? Because people don't care about them. People, that's not sexy. It's not exciting. There's no yield to be made. However, that is changing because of blockchain. Gold and silver you are able to make a yield these days, but that's a whole nother story. The point is that it's not as exciting of an investment as an ETF or something like that. In 1980, as inflation was ramping up through the mid to late 70s and into the early 80s, gold and silver were slowly going up too, just like they are now. But it wasn't until the last move, that blow off top, the panic, that gold and silver exploded. Now, let's talk about silver. There's something completely different about silver. I believe, and I get a lot of hate for this, but who cares? I do not look at silver as a monetary metal. There is not enough, in my opinion, non-professional opinion, enough silver to literally make physical coins and hand them out. I do not see there ever being a physical silver standard in the monetary system. It's now too important and vital to make things with the silver, right? Do I think that you could always back a currency with silver? Absolutely. You could back a currency with anything, but silver is completely different. And the reason why I do believe in the manipulation story, because if gold and silver were to rise, because many people still look at silver the same as gold, it's a monetary metal, right? It's been used as money throughout centuries, but times change. And because of the advent of electronics, they really changed with electronics with silver, because you can't make any electronics without silver. So my point being is that I think that they're trying to still suppress this and keep the lid on it, because once precious metals, especially gold, moves, then the dollar people lose all confidence in the dollar. And we're literally about to bump the all-time high. I think we may have bumped it last night, actually.
Yeah, we're certainly the conditions are set up there. So, wow, well, that's quite a thesis on silver there. So, I guess let's get into if not the monetary side, let's talk about maybe some of the junior mining side. I know you're not an expert there. I know you do talk to quite a few of these guys here. Certainly a lot of value there. How do you what's your take on that market?
Yeah, so I remember in 2020 when the market took its nosedive. Paper silver and paper gold took the nosedive with it. The physical coins did not. The price over spot exploded. That's a whole nother story, but the paper prices did. Well, when the paper price of silver and gold dropped, so did the miners. I moved in, did some long call options on First Majestic, made like 2,500% in less than 90 days. Excellent. I'm excited, right? Pumped. The point being is that the leverage to the mining industry, junior miners, the large miners, and even exploration companies is incredible. But with that, during times like this, we have heightened volatility, and so you could have big upswings to the upside. You could also have them to the downside. Now, the one thing I've been telling people on my channel, it's very, very important, is remember when the gold and silver is gone, physical, there's a line wrapped around the store, just like in 1980, the pawn shop or the coin shop. If large funds are trying to get physical gold and silver or platinum or palladium delivered to a vault, right? And they can't find it because, delivery time's way out and they're panicked. Where are they going to move? They're going to move into the mining sector. They're going to want to find good companies that have solid results and provable assets in the ground that they know how much it's going to cost to go grab those things. And they're going to want to invest in those companies. That is going to cause that sector to explode. And the facts are, I love to invest in companies or sectors that people hate. Well, you can't deny the facts that the mining sector and industry have been hated the last 10 years since the last blow off top. And so this is, to me, honestly, I believe that we're already on the upswing, and I see only good things, but it really needs to be the patient and prudent investor that invests in these, because it's very, very important. Because just like anything, there's scams out there, there's all kinds of things. So I'm really big on investing where the big boys invest.
Yeah. And you're overall a positive guy. I've been around you a lot. So yeah, I guess maybe wrap up here, Ninja, and give us maybe an outlook here of how you see. It sounds like you see some pain here, but with pain comes great opportunity. Warren Buffett built a career on that, they say. So yeah, I guess give investors a little bit of a look into your crystal ball.
Yeah. Yeah. So everybody right now thinks Warren Buffett is amazing, right? But they also thought he was nuts in 2009, 2008, I believe. I don't remember what year it was, but it was around the Great Recession in the lows, maybe 2010. He was buying up railroads like crazy. Now, remember, you buying up the railroad stocks because he knew that it was hated. For a few years, people were just destroying these stocks because why? The railroads weren't making a lot of money. They were not shipping goods. The economy was in the Great Recession. So when he started buying, people mocked him. They laughed at him. They said, "You're nuts." And he knew something that the herd didn't know. And they said, "Don't worry, it's coming back. It's always going to come back." Why? Because central planners are going to make sure of it, because the central planners are doing exactly what he was doing, buying assets on the cheap. So the truth is, there is nothing but positive vibes coming from a crash. And you know what? Every once in a while, we get someone go, "I can't believe you'd want to make money off the backbone of somebody losing their house." I'm like, well, they're a moron. And I can't be more honest with you, because I've been trying for 10 years to wake up the world and warn them. I've literally, before YouTube, warned thousands of people, because I sold all my homes, or most of them, like 90% of my real estate holdings, in 2006, 2007, and warned everybody, right? The facts are, people laugh at you, they mock you, you're the different one. Well, that's called being a contrarian investor. And so I want to be like Warren Buffett. So hey, we all know Warren Buffett had a little bit of a past with silver, and the central banks or somebody got a hold of him and said, "No, no, no, you're not going to do that." Well, think about that. Think about that. Now, and that's what gets me excited, pulling it back into silver. I want to be the guy investing where everyone's mocking. Just like me buying Bitcoin way back when they mocked me, they don't mock anymore.
Yeah, well, and I'll look forward to seeing you at the next Silver Symposium. But Ninja, tell everyone how they can follow your work there and keep tabs on your calls and what you're thinking.
I'm trying to be all over the internet, but really the Economic Ninja, you could just Google, you'll find all the platforms, but YouTube's primarily the biggest one. And yes, I'm so pumped about the Silver Symposium. I can't wait to go. Can't wait to hang out with you, Rob. And I think you're going to, I have a feeling, this is not financial advice, but I have a feeling that you're not gonna be able to stop the grin from Rob's face by the next Silver Symposium because of where the silver price is. I'm gonna throw out that idea right now.
He's a bro hawk and a dream. The Economic Ninja. Appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.